Hi everyone, very good morning to all. Am I audible, guys?
Yes, Pankaj.
Hey, hi, good morning. Thank you. All right, so let's start. And today we are going to discuss about how to deploy a very first time a very brand new firewall. So we'll discuss a step-by-step process. If you have to deploy the brand new firewall, what all step you have to follow, and what are the configuration you have to do when you're going to do the very first time deployment. And also we'll understand some basic concept like administrative access on the firewall management interface. Also, we'll understand different interfaces, what all by default configuration we have. So let me stop this. Let me log into the lab zero. All right. So let me explain first. Whenever you have a new firewall, okay. So firewall can be two type. The firewall can be virtual firewall. The firewall can be physical firewall, right? So whatever firewall, right? We have. Give me 1 second. 1 second, guys. Somebody is pinging. Okay. So whatever firewall we have, either it's a virtual firewall and it's a physical firewall. Their one concept is very same, and that is the 40 OS. Means even you're going to use the virtual firewall, they might be going to use the same 40 OS. Means version I'm talking. Definitely both are going to use the 40 OS, but might be the version can be different. Version might not be same, but the OS is always going to be same, right? Sorry, OS is always going to be there, but version might be going to be there, might not be going to be there. Let's suppose some firewall are going to use the 7.2.4, some are going to 7.2.6, some are going to use 7.2.6 as well. So it's depend on the your versions, right? But definitely they're going to use the 40 OS. That is the one thing is very common, the 40 OS. So every firewall is must be going to use the 40 OS, right? So what is the 40 OS? 40 OS is just a software version it is going to be there. Like Cisco router, we use the Cisco iOS. Switches also use the iOS. Without iOS, the device are not going to be, process the traffic. They are not going to understand the routing. They're not going to understand the switching. So similarly, without 40 OS, this firewall is basically a dumb firewall is not going to work for any kind of traffic processing. If you're working on the Palo Alto, they use the PAN OS, right? If you're working with a checkpoint, they use the Gaia operating system, right? So Gaia operating system again, they have the R81, R82 like that. So similar like that. Everywhere we are going to get that, OS, and without OS version, it's not possible you can run the firewall. So now let me explain the first physical firewall architecture. Means the physical component, why it is required that much ports, what are the meaning of the ports, and if I have to configure the similar thing on the virtual firewall, what are the ports needed and how the port is going to be configured. So that we are going to discuss today. In the first half and second half, we are going to deploy more configuration for the FortiGate firewall. So very first thing, guys, whenever going to get the physical appearance of the firewall, this is the 40F firewall 2600. And this 2640 firewall, you can see we have the port like we have the console port, we have the USB port, we have the management port one or two, we have the HA port one and two, and then we have some copper ports as well. These are the copper port. This is also having a copper port, and these are the fiber ports. Even we have more fiber ports here. Let me show you. See, these are the also fiber port. These fiber ports are one of the highest speed fiber port. These are the very high speed fiber port. I'll explain that about that. How much the maximum support the like speed. But but copper port are basically a port they are going to use for the 1 gig transmissions of traffic. This might be 1 gig, might be more than 1 gig. So you can always find these ports in dataset, which port are going to support how much bandwidth. So we'll discuss later on. I'm going to show you the port overview also. Might be in somewhere in the below. Let me show you. Let me do the touch base. So you can see here, if you talk about these ports, these these three number slots. These three number slots are 16, 10G, and the GE RJ45 port. Means they support 10G plus your 1G ports as well. These are the ports they support 25G, 10G, and also 1G port. Means based on their SFP, whatever the SFP you're going to use, they can support maximum 25 GPS speeds as well. Minimum is going to be 1G. These are going to be 10 GPS speed, and minimum is going to be 1G. This is the the fifth number is basically 100 G speed, and minimum is 40 G speed that are going to support it. So you can get up to 100 Gbps traffic from this firewall. So different slot having different capability. So if you have the smaller firewall, let's suppose you're going to find one of the smaller firewall, because we discussed the product matrix. So let's suppose you're talking about the FortiGate 40F dataset. So see, this is the one of the another firewall. This firewall, basically the port is not showing, but in front of me this firewall is available. Give me 1 second. Uh, yeah, they're just having the 5 LAN and WAN ports. Probably let me show you. Let me try to show you. Yeah. This is the front panel. Yeah. So whenever you're going to purchase this kind of the port, you're going to find. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So they are for dedicated one of the WAN port, but you can use this WAN port also for the, these other ports. Definitely recommended to use this WAN port. But if you want to use this port also for the WAN port, you can use it. This having only console port, USB port, and this is a power supply port. There is no management port. And these ports, basically, if you talk about dataset, how much maximum bandwidth they can support. See here. So their maximum capacity of the bandwidth is basically gig interface. You can see these all are the gig, gig, 1 GPS. So the small firewall can only support 1 GPS, but if they have the higher firewalls, they can go and support up to 100 GPS. Even if you go in a more high-end firewall, 7,000 firewall, they have the more capacity, right? So depending on the firewall versions and their port type and how much bandwidth they're going to support, you have to always refer the data sets. Data sets are going to give the real insights about our product. Means actual architectures, actual their ports, actual their what all the features available. So try to read data sets. They're going to give insights. Now coming back to the original discussion. So let's suppose this is your very brand new firewall and you want to configure this brand new firewall. So what is the first thing you're going to do that? So very first thing, give me 1 second, guys. Whenever you're going to configure, there are basically connectivity, voice, also you require things. Means you need to make the connectivity with your internet or WAN, and also you require the connectivity to the LAN. So which ports are going to use for the LAN and WAN? So basically, these ports, any of the ports you can use for the LAN and WAN connectivity. Okay, any of the port, depending on your link speed. If you didn't, you're thinking my WAN ports are just 1 GPS. So you can just use any of the port. These all ports are going to support 1 GPS. If it's a copper connectivity or ISP side, you can use the copper port. If you have fiber connectivity to the ISP side, use the fiber port. So depend on your last mile termination by the ISP. Means what are what type of connectivity they are giving, the copper or fiber. If fiber, you can use this port. If copper, you can use this port. If you have the more than 10 Mbps, you can use always fiber, because these G ports only support up to 10 Mbps. So you can connect the ISP via this links anyway. So these ports can be LAN and WAN. Also, you have the LAN connectivity, let's say about 10 Gbps, 20 Gbps. LAN are always going to very higher side. So you can make the connectivity to this as well. So these ports technically used for the LAN and WAN. So I hope it is clear to everyone. Now, let me talk about other ports. So if I'm going to talk about the other ports, that means what is the use of the console port? Where is the before console port? Let's understand the LED. So LED is basically it's going to give idea whether my firewall is healthy or not. This status, alarm, HA, you can see they have the power. So in case anything is wrong with the firewall, means you think like there is any critical alert, you think there is any minor alert, or everything is good. So you're going to get different LED side. Means LED status might be it's a green, all green. So all solid green means everything is good. Means firewall is completely healthy. Every processing is very good. But if you find it's amber, there might be the any kind of the errors, minor errors. You have to take immediate actions to resolve those errors. Might be you can take later on action as well because it's not a critical, but it's always recommended if you have any error, try to understand those errors and try to fix those errors. But if it's a red is system critical warning. That means anything alarm red, HA red, power red, status red. That means you have to take care immediately without any single seconds of delay because it might be going to be shut down your network, lose your connectivity, or might be already you lost the connectivity because critical means something is down. Okay, so you always have to take care of this LED status. So whenever you go into any do troubleshooting configuration, always ask your field engineer, on-site engineer, can you just tell me the LED state of the firewall? Might be you're not able to take a remote access to the firewall. Might be your firewall is not processing the traffic. Might be you break the HA connectivity. Might be your power supply is not working correctly. So try to see what is the LED status. So it will give some idea about what is happening inside the firewall. Now moving further, we have a ports. See, this is the very first port is a console port. Why you need a console port? Guys, console port is basically a port where you are going to take a CLI access of the firewall. Means if you want to do any command line interface configuration, means CLI means basically you want to take the console, right? So console via any terminal like putty you can use. You can use the secure CRT, right? So there are different software, MPutty we have. So there are different software we can use, etc. And based on that, we can take the CLI access of the firewall. And by using the CLI access, you can do any configuration via the CLI. Config via CLI. And you must do via locally. What it means you must do via the locally? Means always console can taken by the locally. That is a one method. Means you must be available at the firewall site. You have to connect the console cable here, and after connecting the console cable, you require one of the computer, and this kind of the connectivity is going to happen. Let me draw. So you require one of the laptop. This is the laptop. This laptop might be need a one connector, might be the RJ45 or USB drive, and this need to connect to the console port. So we have to purchase one of the console port from the market. These console port need to connect it from the console cable to the PC, and then they're going to make the connectivity. Then you have to use the any kind of the putty, any kind of secure CRT and putty, whatever you want to use, and based on that you can take the console connections. So you can do the config via CLI, and you must do via locally. Means what it means you have to be present near to the firewall because console cable cannot be taken from remote, right? But is it possible we can take remote also as a console? Anyone know about that? Is it possible we can take console remotely as well? Anyone know solutions or any idea? Just quick check. Anyone? Is it possible we can take console remote as well?
No.
Yeah,
No. Okay. Yes, Sandeep. Could you say something?
we can take remote. Somebody can plug the laptop remotely, and we can we can take the console remotely via telnet or SSH or
Right.
through that.
Console is not support SSH and telnet.
No, no, no. We can plug the laptop locally, and that
Hmm.
laptop can be taken remotely. Control of that
Okay.
laptop can be taken remotely.
Via any remote desktop, Zoom like that, right? You're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay. All right, that we can do that. That kind of the arrangement we can do that. But there is a solutions as well, right? And generally we use, and that solution is known as the OOB. Anyone know that? What is OOB?
Out-of-band solution like Cuddle
Yes.
Point and others.
Yes, yes. Out of band solutions. So what happened out of band solutions? Out of band solution, basically we take the third party devices, and let's take an example. We have to purchase third party devices. Third party devices need to make the connectivity with the console cable to your console port. Okay, so let's suppose you're not available on the locally and lose the access of the firewall and still want to take the connection of the firewall. You can take that via the out of band, and this is going to be available with the third party network. Might be any 4G SIM, 5G SIM, any other ISP, and then you can log in via the URL. You can access these devices via URL, and from that device you can access the port. So this is the out of band is solution is there, and you can see there are a lot of vendors available in the market. So network OV vendor, sorry, OOB. Give me 1 second. So they are the vendor, Cradle Point as Sandeep mentioned, Western Telematic Inc., right? We have Legrand, Console. There are a lot of things. If you just go and search the AI mode also, so you are going to get a lot of vendors detail who just provide the Pearl system, DG International, Evocent. I use this Evocent. Cisco also provide that. Credit Point also very famous. Dell also provide that. So there are a lot of things where you can use that, and they provide that in out of band. So even we have the console, and if you want to take a remote connections, most of the vendors, most of the company, they use the solution that is out of band. Why? Because data centers are very secure, and always might be you're not allowed to go inside of the server rooms. You require the special permissions. There are very high security restrictions and all. So if any issue is coming, we should have some sort of the out of band connectivity. Might we have a remote site? Let's suppose I have one site in the Uganda, very far site, and might be very remote area. I have one of the site in the very remote area, might be in the India. Let's suppose in Jharkhand, might be in the Chhattisgarh, where we have always risk of any kind of the some attack, some kind of the Naxal are going to be do some attack on our locations. So if any issues happen, so you cannot ask people to go and travel on site in the any daytime or nighttime by taking any security. So how we can troubleshoot such scenario? So in that case, we must have to take a console, right, via the out of band. So it's highly recommended take out of band solutions to take the console. So these ports are going to use it for the console. Same you can see in this also in 40F minimum very small firewall, they also have the console port. Same you can do for this firewall. So any firewall you have in FortiGate, even any other devices also, you're always going to find the console port. Console port is a port where you can take the any kind of the local access on the firewall for the CLI configuration. I hope this is clear. Similarly, we have the USB port. You can see USB port is a port where you can basically plug in your USB drive. That is a pen drive, and you can using the USB drive, you can transfer the file inside of the firewall, or you can just take the logs, take the files from the outside from firewall. So anything you want to transfer from the firewall to the USB, and from USB to the firewall, that is possible from the USB drive, and that is very useful utility available. So you can just use for the different purpose. Similarly, we have the management ports. These management ports are basically used for the GUI connections, right? So if you want to take the GUI access of the firewall, so GUI is basically graphical user interface. GUI, even CLI. CLI, what is CLI? CLI is basically, again, it's a remote CLI. And how you can take the remote CLI? Anyone know that? Any example of remote CLI? Anyone? Just try to speak. What is a remote CLI? Come on, guys. SSH.
SSH and telnet.
Yes, yes. They are remote CLI. So GUI access you can take graphical user interface access, and also you can take the CLI, that is a remote CLI. That's possible from the management interface. How it is possible? Let's discuss about that. But before you discuss about that, by default, if management one port is available, their default IP is going to be always factory configured. Means default IP is going to be always this IP address. So you can connect any LAN port. Means how you can connect the port. Let me draw that. Let's suppose I have one of the PC. This is a PC or laptop. We need to connect one of the RJ45 cable here. This RJ45 cable is going to connect. So one side by default you have the IP address 192.168.1.99. This IP address is going to be configured here. So you don't have to configure initially the same IP address. It's already by default going to be there. So you have to give the IP address like 192.168.1.100 here. The moment you'll give that, they are going to make one of the broadcast network, and from this PC to this management interface, you're able to ping that and you're able to talk that. Then after you have to open the browser, and after opening the browser, you have to type the HTTPS or HTTP, whatever you want to do that. And from there, you can take the GX of the firewall by typing this IP address, because you're able to ping that IP. If you want to do the telnet, SSH, it's all possible. So by default management interface, whenever you configure the management interface, they allow default services. By default, they have the IP address, this one. And after that, the default services you're going to see SSH, it will allow. HTTP will be allowed. HTTPS is going to be allowed. And some FortiManager feature, means FortiManager services, FW is going to be also allowed. So I will show you, these are the administrative services by default allow on the management interface. Other interface might be you have to configure because they are going to be restricted. So if you want to take the any kind of the GUI access, then you have to use that. And let's suppose my FortiGate firewall doesn't have this interface, then how I can use the management connectivity? See, this firewall doesn't have dedicated management interface. Then in situation, what I can do that? With the firewall which doesn't have the management dedicated interface, you can use the port 1 always for the management connectivity. So in our lab, you can see this firewall is a virtual firewall and we don't have any management interface. So if I want to use, right, we can use the ports. You can see there is a port 1 already connected, port 2, port 3, port 4. So port 1 is always going to act as a management interface, and this port by default DHCP services are going to be enabled. So why DHCP services enabled and what is the logic behind it, I will explain. So just think about, in case you don't have the management interface and still you want to take the GUI access, by default recommended to use the port 1. Even you don't want to use the port 1, you can change other port also for your management connectivity. You can absolutely do that. There is no problem. You have to do the configurations by taking the console of the firewalls on that port, and that is going to convert in the management interface. You don't have to do a special configuration, just you have to assign the IP address and you have to give some kind of the other configuration and it is going to be accessible. So this is a management interface, right? These two are going to be used for the same purpose. Now we have the HA interface. What is the HA interface? HA interface is basically when you have a two firewall. when we have a two firewall and we want to build the HA cluster. What is HA cluster? HA cluster is basically one firewall is going to act as an active firewall, one is going to be a backup firewall. Even I want to deploy both firewalls active active. There are two solutions of the HA, active passive and active active. I will explain both later on with the full practical. So cluster means, let's suppose I have one car and one car is going to be breakdown for some regions. It might be the tire is means tire is going to be, some region it's going to be a flat, might be this going to be any steering is not working, headlight is not working, any kind of things is going to happen. Then probably I will not able to go office by that car. But if I have the backup car, I can use that backup car to go to office. Similar way, in case of the single FortiGate firewall I have, and that firewall is going to down, my all connectivity is going to be down. So if I have the backup FortiGate firewall, I have the connectivity. So automatic my traffic will shift to the backup firewall, and this is going to be allow the traffic to the secondary firewall. So we have to connect the HA1 to HA1 connectivity and HA2 to the HA2 connectivity, and we have to do some configuration. So they will be the HA cluster. And once we have the HA cluster, they are going to be automatically failable the traffic in case of the any failure is going to happen. So these are the ports, guys, and these ports having a this kind of the uh, features, right? Any questions here till now?
HA heartbeat is in milliseconds.
Yes, it's going to be milliseconds. It's always going to be milliseconds. They are going to be exchanged. Technically, they are in the seconds only, but configuration is a millisecond, but they are going to be multiplied those seconds. It's going to be second. Let's suppose one firewall is going to down. So by default, to recover and give the all configurations, means fallback the configuration take the 1 second, but by default their negotiation means in the milliseconds for any kind of timers is going to down, but final failure is going to happen in the seconds.
So in
So
case if I have opened a banking, especially banking site, and the firewall goes down, do I need to re-log in into the banking site and
no,
while
no,
the
no,
failover
no,
happens?
no, no. It's automatic. Automatic failover is going to happen. It's not going to be visible to the users.
No,
So,
that is on the firewall level. But
mhm.
what I'm saying is, especially the banking sites are designed in such a manner, even if you have milliseconds of downtime with respect to network, whether it's on the switch router or on the firewall level, the application is sensitive enough, they will detect there is some disruption in the traffic. In that case, do I need to log into the application again to get it for the login, or how does it happen? Because this is especially for the
uh,
banking
I
applications.
understand. I understand. This is a very good question, Sandeep. So basically, I need to check this one, but I know Palo Alto and FortiGate, right? And Checkpoint also. They have a feature. They maintain the persistence connections for the in case of the few seconds if you any have the failures, few milliseconds even have the failures. They do not discard the sessions. And if you have the sessions, right, and then I believe you don't have to re-log in because they maintain the session. That's why they're session-based firewalls. So even we have some kind of the short of the disruptions, but definitely I will check on this official documentation. I'll get back to you. Might be tomorrow. I'll check this. But I think that is not going to happen in disruptions. Okay, Sandeep?
Okay.
Okay.
Can we make any other HA port if these are somehow goes any faulty? So
Yes,
can
yes,
we?
yes. Yeah, that's Arun. Good question. So even this HA4 is not available. I forgot to mention that. Think about this one. This firewall doesn't have any HA port. Can I make the HA cluster? The answer is yes, we can make the HA cluster. We can use any ports to make the HA ports as well. That's absolutely fine. So in case your firewall, this HA port dedicated is not working or not available, you can use any of the port for the HA connectivity. That's absolutely possible. And we do our lab because in our virtual firewall, we not have the HA ports available. Even I have the physical firewall, they don't have the HA port. That is the 40F is available and they just have the other ports to make the all configuration. Any other questions or we are good? Kalyani?
Can
Please go
you
ahead.
please, yeah, Bhavdesh, can you please give more insights on out-of-band
Okay,
management?
sure. So what is out of band management? OOB network. OOB network is basically, let's suppose you have a firewall. This firewall, we have the one of the port. This port is known as the console port. So in every console port, you always have to connect the local devices and you have to take the console access. Means your cable need to connect it with a console cable and you have to take the local access of the firewall via the CLI only for the any configuration. You know the console, Kalyani, right? You
Yes,
know the,
Bhavdesh.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Now let's suppose this firewall is in some remote locations or might be on night time in office and or any data centers, and somehow you not able to take remote access via SSH, via telnet, basically not recommended, or via GUI. GUI is basically HTTPS, HTTP or HTTPS. So you're not able to take the remote access to these firewalls. Might be you lose the WAN connectivity. There is a WAN, let's suppose there is a WAN port. And this WAN port is giving the remote access to their office for the SSH and telnet. But you might be there is some link down. Some other issue might be also. Might be firewall is a hung state. Might be a firewall is some different state and you're not able to process the traffic. So how I can check? Because I cannot travel in the midnight on the site. Might be due to the geography regions. Might be some kind of the restrictions, some kind of the access. So that's why every company designed the out of band network. What is out of band network? They choose some third party ISP. Okay, it might be the 4G, it might be the 5G network, and based on the third party ISP, they connect the one of the third party vendor devices like Cradlepoint, other HP, Cisco, and this is the out of band management device. And from this out of band management device, they make the connectivity of the console to your console port. Instead of this, they remove this cable. They remove this cable. This cable is not needed. Instead of this cable, they use their different, same cable, but to make the connectivity of this particular this device. And this can be accessible from your office or anywhere from the URL. And once you connect the URL, you're going to get the device list to which device you want to take the console. So different port, we have the different devices, and you can just take the console. So let's suppose you're not able to access via the in-band. This is known as the in-band management. In-band means you are just taking a telnet and SSH from your remote locations. So you use this connectivity, that is a out of band management, OOB management. I written wrong thing here. OOB, out of band, not OBB. So you can just do the connections from your URL, go log in the web portal from the any kind of the internet, and you can access this box. And once you access in the box, you have to get this all the port detail and just log into devices. This is the out of band management. Clear, Kalyani? Now it's clear.
So, that WAN link is completely dedicated to out-of-band service, right?
Come again, please.
You mean to say that WAN link is completely dedicated to out-of-band service,
Yes,
that
yes, that's a
whatever.
complete third party. This is not your official ISP links. This is third
Okay,
party links. Means 4G, 5G, any other ISP.
okay, okay.
All right.
Is it
Now
not possible to take through same ISP, which one we are already existing one ISP in our office?
you you can take, but that's going to be again defeat the purpose of the order band management. Your ISP is going to, then again you're going to lose the connections. You can take, but that is the again risk for you. So it's not suggested to take the same ISP. Always third party ISP or some different vendor.
Okay, that connection is different.
This connection is different. ISP might be same, but they have a dedicated different circuits. Even it's recommended for take the same ISP. Please mute someone who is speaking. Durgesh. Yes, so you can just always take some different vendor, not same vendor is recommended.
Okay.
All right, so I hope now everyone is clear. Now, guys, we have to understand these configurations, like whatever the ports we have to do the configuration on the our firewalls. So you can see this firewall having different informations. You guys can read it about that. High performance with the flexibility, multiple interfaces we have. This firewall can use for the next generation firewall, right? So we understand what is next generation firewall. They support TLS inspection up to the latest version 1.3. So some firewall previous version support one till 1.2. This is the latest high secure 1.3 and give the visibility. We'll discuss what is the SSL and TLS inspection, segmentation they can support, VXLAN they support, secure SD-WAN support. You can do the hyperscale of this particular deployment. Uh, they can provide the mobile security for the 4G, 5G, and IoT devices as well. You can deploy the FortiOS everywhere, cloud. You can purchase the hardware and all. And it's all security. They have the zero-day threat preventions, web security, network and file security, DNS security, data security, like attack surface visibility and compliance, OT security, FortiManager. Manager. You can integrate that for centralized management. We discussed that. What is a FortiManager? You can use the FortiGate services and also 48.6. So they have a lot of informations. These are hardware we discussed right away. Their connectivity report and they have their specifications. What are the throughputs, how much next generation firewall throughput. So you can get every information in these particular sections. So it's highly recommended. Just go through that. Now, in our case, we have the virtual firewall. So very first thing, when we have a virtual firewall, let's suppose I want to use a virtual firewall. So how we can start that? Virtual firewall doesn't you going to find the like predefined IP address on the port one. You have to configure. So I can go here and use a virtual firewall. And this is my virtual firewall. I can use this. Okay. So this is my virtual firewall. Very first thing, when I want to start the virtual firewall, I need to turn the power on. So this is the virtualist. I can simply start this firewall. So how I can take the console of this virtual firewall? So for the any virtual deployment, either you're deploying for the ESXi, either it's any kind of the EVNG, PNet Lab, any your own simulations, you're building that, or even the cloud. You have to use the virtual console. What is the virtual console? Virtual console, the moment you click on the firewall, they will give the automatic virtual from the virtual infrastructure. So you can see this is the virtual console. So I'm getting this virtual console from the Guacamole. Even let's suppose I have the firewall, I deploy in the ESXi. Let's suppose I'm going to use that. I deploy the firewall in the ESXi. So even they have the virtual console. You just let's say FortiManager is there. If I turn on this firewall, it will give the virtual console. See, this is the virtual console. So every hardware, even you deploy in the cloud as well. Cloud also going to give the exactly same virtual console. So there is a virtual concept, the physical concept console. You have to always connect the physical hardware. Virtual console, you can always just turn on the devices and it will give the your virtual console. Virtual console doesn't means if you have the any virtual devices, they not need any kind of out of band connectivity because they are in the platform. If your platform is up, you can always go and check the CLI access of the firewalls. So you can see this is again FortiManager. It's getting booting up and it's almost ready. Okay, we'll see that later. So my FortiGate firewall virtual console is ready. Now, if I want to check what configuration inside I have, so this PC, let me also, I need to connect. So simply I need to very first thing, I need to log in the firewall. So what is the very first command I need to use that? So to log in the firewall, very first command, you always use the admin as a username. It's always going to be username as a admin. You guys can note. But password is going to be blank. If you put the password, there is no password. Very first time, password is going to be blank. Means you don't have to type any password. It's going to be blank. I'm writing a blank. Don't type the blank. Means it's going to be no password. Okay. So let me put here as a username. Admin. No password. Press enter. Once you press enter, it will ask to select the new password. So I will use again password as admin and confirm password as admin. So now I am in the firewall login prompt. Means you can just think about the equivalent to privilege mode. Or even I can do the configuration by going the configuration mode from here. So if you're going to configuration, so config system interface. So this is the configuration. I can just always run the command config. So it's equivalent to config or privilege mode. You can think about that. Now, if you run the command, if you want to see that what are interfaces available on my firewall, so simply you have to run a command. You just go here and run the command show system interface, and after that you have to press the question mark. Shift means question mark. You know that how to press that. The moment you press the question mark, you are going to find the all interface details. You can see here we have the 40 link for the different purpose. We'll discuss there. There's a root, some interface, virtual interfaces. We'll discuss for tunnel purpose. But the physical interface is SL interface. Physical interface, we have the total 4 physical interface. See, these are the physical interfaces. By default available on the virtual firewall, 4 physical interface, 4 NIC card. And very first NIC card you can see is a DHCP. Why it's DHCP? Because this NIC card is designed in such way, the firewall, if you don't have any kind of the dedicated management port, you can always recommend it to use the port 1 where DHCP service by default enabled. On the port 1, DHCP service by default enabled. So it will try to get automatic IP address if you have the any DHCP network available in your infrastructure. So I will show the 2 scenario in our lab. One is where DHCP is not available, then how I can take the GUI of the firewall. One scenario when DHCP is available in network. So it will take automatic IP address, and then how we can take the GUI of the firewall. So both use case I will explain that. So let me turn on this firewall as well. Okay, so let me first explain the very first use case. Now we have this console access. Now, after getting the console access, if I want to take the GUI access, console access, this is just a virtual console. You don't have to do anything. But for the GUI access, you have to connect the port 1 to this PC, right? So you can just drag the cable and connect to this PC. And here you can see the console port, and it's a 1. Now, if I am trying to check port 1 configuration, you can see this port 1 configuration doesn't have the IP address, but mode is saying it's a DHCP mode. And by default on this interface, you can see these services allowed. As I mentioned that. I forgot to mention the ping. So by default, you have the services that is a ping services enabled. You have the HTTPS service enabled, SSH services enabled, HTTP service enabled, and FortiGate 40 manager. Means this is a 40 manager. So any management interface, if you're using in the FortiGate firewall, by default, these services are enabled. Default MGMT services are enabled. Take a note, right? This is also known as administrative services. So when I'm going to use administrative services or management services, by default anyway. If you talk about the Palo Alto management interface, guys, Palo Alto MGMT interface, anyone know that? Default services? Only 3. You can do the ping, you can SSH, and you can HTTPS. Only 3. But in the case of the FortiGate, you have a total 5 management services. Ping, HTTPS, SSH, HTTP, and FortiGate 40 manager. So we'll understand how FortiGate FortiManager, but this you know that this is for the ping, this for the SSH. If you want to enable telnet, you can do that. This for the GUI access, and this to communicate the FortiManager. But if I check the same thing on port 2, can I find all the services? Let me check for the port 2. So if I check the port 2, see there is no default administrative services enabled. If you check for the port 3, nothing. Even check for the port 4, nothing. Only port 1 have the default services. Now, I have to take the GUI access. So I need to go in the Windows server. Let me go. And I need to configure the IP address of this particular device. So I'll go on the network, default properties, adapter. I'll go there, properties. And what is the IP address? I can use this topology 192.168.10.11. So I'll use 192.168.10.11. There's no gateway needed, okay? Because they are going to stay in the same broadcast domain. You can put even 10, it is going to work. Even not going to put, it is not going to create any issue. But let me put as a 10, which I'm going to configure on the FortiGate firewall. So now I'm in the management PC. See, this is IPH configure. If you try to ping the gateway, it is not going to ping because there is no IP configure on the my FortiGate firewall. So now guys, I need to go on my FortiGate firewall, and my FortiGate firewall port 1 is configured as a DHCP interface. So definitely it will keep trying to take IP from the DHCP server, but DHCP server is not enabled on this particular PC side. So we cannot make any kind of the means IP collection from the PC network. So who is writing on my screen? Can you just, clear the screen? Let me stop here. Please do not write guys on my screen. It's my request. Okay. So whenever you want to configure the, any management IP, by default, it will not allow to configure because the mode of the interface is the DHCP. So if you have the mode of the interface of DHCP, it will try to get IP from the DHCP network. But this PC doesn't have the DHCP port 1 connected on this PC. But this PC doesn't have any DHCP services enabled. Or this server is not basically acting as a DHCP server. So it will not going to get the IP address. But in this case, in this network, we have DHCP services. So I will show you how it is going to get that. So in that case, I will go in the FortiGate firewall. And after going in the FortiGate firewall, I need to configure the interface. Which interface? The port 1 interface, this interface. So I need to run the config system interface. There's a very first command, guys. You can just make your note as well because you have to do this configuration manually. Edit port 1. Okay. And if you try to configure the set IP, see what is the error it's going to give that 192.168.10.10/24. By default, this is the command I need to run. But when I run this command, you'll see that you cannot change dynamic IP address. It's trying to say your mode of this particular interface is DHCP. So you cannot assign your static IP address on this interface. So if I want to assign the static IP address, first I need to change this mode. This mode is DHCP, so I need to convert this mode as my static. So let me do that. So I will go here and I'll change the set mode static. This is the very first command. And now if I go and run, let me first show you. After changing this mode, you can just go and see this output. See, the mode has been removed. DHCP earlier was there. Static, the moment you set the static, it is not going to show the static configuration, but yes, it's completely known as your firewall is in the static mode. It's not a DHCP mode. So now if I'm going in the config system interface, edit port 1, And then the set IP is 192.168.10.10/24 and end. And now you check the configuration again. See, this is the new configuration. In this new configuration, you have this IP address and this management things as well. In case you want to allow telnet, I will show you how to allow a telnet as well. But for time being, we have the ping, HTTPS, SSH, and HTTP. So now if I'm going on this particular PC, I should able to ping my firewall. Let me try to check. Earlier it was not, but now should be ping one. Yes, I'm able to ping. If I want to take the GUI access, I can take the GUI access as well. Let me show you. So I'll go here and I will simply HTTP 192.168.10.10 and see it's redirected with GUI access of FortiGate Firewall. So I'm in the FortiGate GUI access. You can just see here and I can just simply go and put admin and admin. So my GUI basically HTTP or HTTPS, both are supporting the GUI access. So ping is working, these services are working. Now let me verify the SSH. See, this is my FortiGate GUI access. So it will take a few seconds and it will sync the entire configuration and then you're going to get the dashboard as well. See, it's coming up. So system information license, FortiCloud virtual machine. So everything is coming and then you're going to get. So you just have to wait a few seconds, then your all information is going to be available. But now I am the GX of the firewall. Now moving next, I need to access the SSH of the firewall. So we have to use the putty. Let me see if I have a putty on this particular PC. Yeah, we have. So I'll use a putty. Over 92.168. .10. And see, we selected the SSH. So just open the SSH connections. Let me close the, yeah. Click yes. And you just put the admin. Now you are in the SSH of the FortiGate firewall. Let me maximize the font size so you guys can. I want to just change the font size a little bit bigger. So I need to go in the appearance. I need to go, let me make it 16. See, so now again I'm in the, it's not console. This is not a console. This is basically your SSH connections. Now let me try to do the telnet. Can I do the telnet? Anyone know? Can I do the telnet of the firewall? If I try to take a telnet,
No, did not service enabled.
yeah. So if I try to do a telnet, you guys can see this is not working. But if I want to enable telnet, then how I can enable the telnet? I can enable telnet via the console or might be via this SSH connections or might be GUI. GUI is not possible. You have telnet services is not possible on GUI. Let me show you. If you want to enable telnet services, GUI is not possible. Go on the your interface. Interface. So this is my port 1. Let me click on it, port 1. I will make resize of the screen. It's going to be better one. I'll use my on screen later on. So you're going to get very nice view after some time. See, this administrative access, we don't have the telnet option available. By default, HTTP, SSH, right? HTTPS, HTTP, ping, these all SNMP, FMT, FTM, radius accounting, security fabric connection, speed test, this all are enabled. But we not have any kind of the telnet connection. So we cannot enable from the GUI. So telnet always going to enable from the CLI. But how? It's very important, guys. So listen carefully. You want to enable a telnets, then you have to go in the config, system, interface, edit port, what is the port number 1. Now you have to run the command set allowance. And make sure whatever your existing services are there, you must be first put there. Okay. And then you use the new services, telnet. If you're not putting these services here, let me do that. If I'm going and add the telnet here, and then you'll see that remaining older one is going to be automatically removed. See, all are removed, only telnet is available. So whenever you just adding the new services, you make sure add the all legacy one, existing one, and then you can just add the new one. So I will go here, config, system, interface, edit port 1, set allowance, this one, and then we need to add the telnet. This is the right way. Now if you check it here, see, so we have a ping, we have the SSH, we have telnet, and if you go here, refresh the firewall again, you'll find that even GUI access have a telnet enabled. But this telnet can be always configured from your CLI very first time, not from the GUI. But here now you can find the telnet services also going to be enabled. See, telnet is enabled. So now if I'm going here and try to take a telnet, let me try again. Restart the connection. See, I'm able the admin, and I'm in the firewall via the telnet. Clear? So I hope it's very much clear, everyone. In case of my very first deployment from the DHCP or static, what is the first command I need to run? And how I can enable the telnet SSH on the interface, and what is the administrative interface, what is the default configuration of the port 1, and what is the default configuration of the other ports. Do let me know if any questions we have, so I can just explain in case I have a DHCP, then what is going to happen, and then we conclude this very Day0 lab.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Ratnesh. Ritesh, here.
Yeah. So, if enable this SSH port, then why need to enable additional telnet? We can enable to telnet also from the SSH side, right?
No. You cannot do that. Telnet is the one protocol, SSH another protocol. If you enable the SSH, you can do the SSH. SSH is a like a secure, and telnet is unsecure. Telnet is not recommended to use, but they are the different services. Telnet is going to give also CLI, SSH is also going to give the also CLI, but one is secure and is one non-secure. SSH cannot give the Telnet, okay?
It's not SSH is 22 port number, right? But
Yes, Telnet 23.
23. Yeah. Okay. Understood.
Clear?
Yeah, clear.
Now we have the another firewall. This firewall I'm going to turn on. Very first time you have to give again username, admin. What is the password? Anyone know? What is the password of this firewall?
Blank, nothing.
Nothing, right? And you have to set the password. Now let me see, show system interface. See, this interface by default get the IP address. This time I haven't given the any IP address. Why? Because this network doesn't have DHCP server, but right now this network have the DHCP services. We have the DHCP connection network. So this is going to give the by default IP address. So if this is a by default IP address, this PC also going to get the by default IP address from the DHCP network and the same subnet. So let me turn on this PC as well. And once we just have to ping the firewall and take the SSH telnet. Even I can take from my browser as well this time because I'm in the same network. My PC also getting the IP from the same DHCP server. So let me go and check the IP address. Let me go here, guys. IP config. You can see this is the IP and 39, and my FortiGate firewall was 38. So I can just try to ping 192.168.1.38. Now I'm able to do that. If I want to take the GUI access, I simply go and try to log in the firewall. I can take the GUI access as well. See, so GUI is working without any issue. If I take the SSL as well, I can just simply go here and take the SSH as well. Oh, sorry, I need to find the putty, not SSH. My bad. And I will just go here and put the 192.168.1.38. Give me 1 second. So you can just go here and put the admin. So this is again your right, and now we are good here. We can just go and okay. Okay, so now we have let me log in the same thing from my browser. So I can go here, 38. And you can say this is the same firewall. So because I'm in the LAN network, so this browser is fast. This is the real browser, so I can just do whatever I want to do that, right? So I can just configure the firewall. I can just go on the interface, right? Right. And let me just do one thing. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay. So you can see this is like port 1, and here if you want to enable the SSH telnet, you can do that. Telnet is not possible. Even you want to take, let's suppose you have the GUI access and you want to take the SSH connection, like CLI connection to this firewall, you can simply go and you're going to get always CLI connection directly from here. So system interface. So if you don't want to take the like console connection, you want to take the CLI access and you want to work parallel CLI plus GUI. So you can always minimize the CLI, always going to be there, and you can work for the CLI as well. Same time you can do everything. There's a very great feature available in the FortiGate firewall. Means if you are working on the GUI and you want to take the CLI, you don't have to take SSH connection, tenant connection, different sessions. Directly from this firewall, you can just click on this location. It's going to give your window. And you can always minimize and always go on do the configurations. So let's have a little bit quiz. So can you guys just tell me, just very important question. Default services on management interface or port 1. Anyone know? What are the default services we have enabled?
HTTP,
Ping,
HTTPS,
SSH.
ping.
HTTP, HTTPS, SSH,
Ping,
ping.
FS. Anything else?
Ping me.
W. SMSW.
FM, FMC.
Okay. So, sorry. 5 services, right? HTTP, HTTPS, ping, SSH, and FMJ. That's correct, right? Can we enable telnet via GUI?
No, sir.
Right, everyone? We cannot do that, right? If I have to enable, I can always do via the CLI, right? Default IP of management interface.
192.168.1.99.
1.19.
Okay, that's good. What else we did discussion, right? Default IP assignment method of port 1. It's a static or DHCP?
DHCP.
DHCP. Okay, so I hope you guys had basic idea like what we learn, right? So there are basic things you should learn about it. Now, yes, please, Kalani.
I have a small doubt. The default IP is 192.168.1.99, right? Then why can't we see that in the show system interface command?
That's for the physical interface, physical firewall. It's a virtual firewall, so you cannot find this IP address. Only if you have the physical firewall, that is going to be hard-coded IP address.
Okay.
So,
Katyani.
please, Ritesh, please mute. So this is always going to be applicable from your 99 is going to be typically is going to be this one. Or if you have the dedicated to management port, or you're going to find this one as well. So one is going to be this one, another is going to be this one. But if you have single, it is going to be there only. So this is only for the physical firewall. right? You can see also default username is admin, default password none blank, and you can always connect the port 1 on model without dedicated management port. So if you don't have the management port, you can always the port 1, or this management port is only going to be available on the your high-end firewalls. So you can assign the IP address by the static or DHCP. If you have the physical firewall with the management port, you can just connect your computer on that particular port, and then after you can just type this HTTP or HTTPS and whatever the management IP address, then you're going to get the remote access. Clear? Till here we are good, right? Let's move in the next discussion. Let me stop this recording. Okay, so now I'm going to discuss about the lab 2. Let me stop it. There's an interface. So more about the interface type, because we learned about the only management interface. Now we're going to talk about the more about the interface, FortiGate firewall interface. So let me. So let's have a 1 minute break, 1 or 2 minute break. I'm coming back. Just muting for the 1 minute. I'm coming back. Okay, guys, just 1 minute. Wait for a while. Okay, guys, so I'm back now again, and let's have a discussion about the other interface type, what we have in the FortiGate firewall. So let me go in the FortiGate firewall, and the very first topic we are touching is network, and that network having an interface. So in the FortiGate firewall, we have a lot of interface type. You can say we have the physical interface. We know that what is the physical interface. These all interfaces are configured as a physical interface. Even the physical firewall, so we have the physical interface. If the 40F, this is the physical interface. If the virtual firewall means these are the physical interface. Port 1, port 2, port 3, port 5, port 6. They consider as a physical interface. They also support the VLANs. They also support the aggregated interface, so just aggregating the interface, bundling the multiple interface into the one interface logically for the high throughput. So I will discuss that also. They support the redundant interface, loopback interface, and software switch. These feature we must have to know, right? What is the physical, VLANs, aggregate, redundant, and then we have to understand the zone. Hardware switch is part of the switching, so we can ignore. We understand the virtual wire pair. We can ignore for the WAN extensions, not needed. And we discuss the tunnels as well. VDOM links we'll discuss later on. So they are the different interface. Most interface out of this type, most 80% interface is supported with the FortiGate firewall. So we should know about that. So whenever we talk about physical interface, this physical interface is the physical, where you connect the cable physically from the FortiGate to the your switches. So physical interface, nothing. Physical interface, a physical interface can be connected to the either Ethernet or optical fiber. You can see these are the ports, optical fiber or Ethernet, that is known as the physical interface. Depending on the FortiGate models, as we know that this FortiGate 40F doesn't have the fiber. You can only connect the Ethernet. So physical interface can be Ethernet, can be fiber, depending on the FortiGate model, but they will give the physical connectivity. There is a varying number of the Ethernet and optical interface. Some FortiGate having the grouping of the Ethernet enable. So we can just ignore LAN and WAN connectivity. They're talking about that. But physical is just a cable you need to connect from firewall to the switches. And further, you can do the configuration. Now, VLANs. I'm assuming you guys know what is the VLANs. VLAN is like a virtual LAN that is going to broadcast your LAN segment for the different department for the security regions. So we divide the segment like subnet from one VLAN to the one subnet, another VLAN to another subnet. So we can do the same concept in the FortiGate firewall as well. If you want to configure the VLAN, you want to do the IEEE 802.1 VLAN tags as well, inter VLAN routing, you want to do that. That all possible in the FortiGate firewall. And this is the very first thing we are going to understand. So in this FortiGate firewall, if I just log in, I'm in my local LAN, so I can directly access the firewall from my GUI access. So let me make it admin blank. I'll set it. So if I connected this firewall port 1 from this network, it will take automatic IP address. I don't have to do any kind of the configurations for the IP assignment. And you guys also don't have to do this configuration. Management will take automatic. You just go in their browser. Means I'm in the browser, so I can just access this FortiGate firewall and I can just log in from here. Simple. I can just simply go and log in this FortiGate firewall. But in case of you, when doing the lab, you turn on this PC, okay? This PC, you're going to make the connectivity like this one. So this PC will also get the same subnet IP and you can just ping like I did the second lab, okay, in the previous lecture. So we connect the same subnet connectivity. So you can ping from here and you can just log into the firewall. In all lab except the previous lab, you don't have to assign any management IP address. It all get automatic from the management connectivity. So whatever the IP you're getting, same subnet you're going to get that. Two range might be going to get. One range is going to be 11.0.0.0/8. So when you're going to get this 11, this is going to be 11, this is going to be 11. So you can just make the connectivity around the 11. Another is going to be 192.168 1.0/24. So right now I'm in the 192.168 1.0/24 and here from I'm just doing the connectivity. So you don't have to worry about the 11 on 192, whatever subnet you're getting for management, this PC in the same subnet, this WAN interface in the same subnet, you just have to make the ping pong test and it is going to work. So don't worry about that. Now after that, you can see the port 1 is connected. Port 1 is connected on my switch. But here if you go that, this port doesn't have any configuration. It's showing the green, green, green because these all ports are connected. So they are showing the green. The port 7 is nowhere connected. So it's showing the red. That means they have the physical connections on this particular port. All right. And you can see most important, only port 1 have these services enabled. Rest other port doesn't have any administrative services. If you have to enable, you have to go and explicitly enable these services, right? So let me go and explain the inter-VLAN routing configurations. So this is one of the port. Let me assign the IP address, right? I believe there is an old IP address. So I can assign from scratch. Wait for a while. Okay. So very first thing, guys, I will go and assign the IP address 192.168.10.10/24. Gateway is going to the firewall 10.10. There is two VLAN need to be created, 10 and 20. So both case, this PC gateway is the firewall, this PC gateway is the firewall. So I will go here and assign the IP address. You run the command show IP. There should be no IP. You want to give the IP 10.10.10.10/24, 10.10.10.1. And this is going to be assigned to your interface, right? So if you just check it, show IP, you get this IP address. Your gateway is not pingable right now because we not configure anything on the FortiGate firewall. Now we go on the PC2 as well. Show IP, there is nothing. So I want to assign the IP address, then I need to go IP 20.20.20/24, 20.20.21. And you can just run the command show IP. You can try to ping gateway, it is not going to be page. All right, so this is the basic things. Now we have to go in the switch. How we have to make the communication? So I need to go in the switch. On the switch, I need to configure the VLANs. So I will go here and configure the VLAN 10, that is one VLAN, and I will configure the VLAN 20, that is the another VLAN. I need to assign this port on the VLAN 10, this port on the VLAN 20 because they're the access port. So let me do that. So interface, what is the interface? Gig 0/2. All right, and switch port mode access, switch port access, VLAN 10, no shut. The port is configured on the VLAN 10. This is the port 0/3. So I'll go here gig 0/3, switch port mode access, switch port access, VLAN 20, no shut. This is also done. Now what is the next step, guys? I need to configure this port because these are the access port. I'm just assuming you guys having this idea. I'm assuming you guys have the VLAN understanding. How to make access port? Access port is going to carry only one VLAN. So this is the VLAN 10, this is the VLAN 20. This is going to my trunk port, TP. This is going to carry both VLAN. So that's why trunk is always going to carry more than one VLAN. That is a trunk port. Access port only is going to carry only one VLAN. So if I want to make this trunk port configuration, so I need to go here, switch, and I need to go on the interface. The interface is going to be gig 0/0. Switch port trunk encapsulation.1key. This is the first command. Switch port mode trunk. Switch port trunk allowed VLAN 10 and 20. And do right. That's all. So you're done with the switch configuration. If you go and run the command, show VLAN brief, this is the two VLANs. VLAN 10 is the part of the 0/2, VLAN 20 is a part of the 0/3. And rest port are basically going to stay in the VLAN 1. And if you run the command show interface trunk, you're going to find only one port in the trunk mode, that is the gig 0/0. I hope this is clear to everyone. Now, still if you're trying to make the communication, 10 is never going to ping 20 as of now. Say it's not reachable, and even gateway is not possible you can ping. So gateway, because we need to configure gateway on my FortiGate firewall. So I need to go on the FortiGate firewall. Now I need to create two VLANs, VLAN 10 and VLAN 20, who can assign on the port 4. So how I can create that? I need to go in the interface, means network interface, and then create interface, and I need to create the interface. Click on the interface, and then I will get the interface name as a VLAN 10 interface. Okay, let me put in short. Okay, let me put in the short. Ignore the spelling because it's not taking more than some character. Now, type, you have to select the VLAN, and the VLAN protocol is the 802.1q. That is a VLAN protocol. And we can use the interface. Which interface I need to club this VLAN? That is a port 4, because VLAN must be clubbed with any physical interface. That's a port 4. And here I need to get the VLAN ID is the 10, because VLAN 10 is going to VLAN ID 10, and give the IP address is 10.10.10.1/24. And I will allow the SSH ping or even the HTTPS. And I can just make the okay. So you can see the port 1 is assigned one of the IP address. Now under the port 1, I need to configure one more VLAN, that is the VLAN 20. Tag is 20. I will allow the HTTPS SSH ping, and I will click the OK. Now you see both interface has been configured. Now if I go on the PCs and try to ping the gateway, see, I'm able to reach my gateway. If I go on the VPC2 and try to ping my gateway, I'm able to reach my gateway without any problem. But can I ping from PC to PC? The answer is no. Still you're not able to ping. If you go here also, try to ping 10, it is not going to ping. So your end-to-end reachability is not possible. Why it is not possible? So let's understand. So because it's not a layer 3 device, it's a firewall who can inspect all layer traffic, and it's a next generation firewall who can inspect the MAC address, IP address, port number, protocol number, applications, URL, content, TLS, DNS, video, everything, data. So by default, whenever you're going to make any communication through firewall, just note this statement. Any configuration in the firewall for the any NGFW firewall, any NGFW matlab, you are running in the FortiGate, you're running in the Polo, right? You're running on the Checkpoint. Any of the firewall you're running, NGFW firewall, by default, what happen? They follow 3 sequence. Very first sequence, they check the routing. Routing is okay. Then they check the NAT policy. Not always, if applicable. Especially when you go on the internet, it is always required. Third is going to be security policy. So these 3 things always going to check. If routing is okay, then fine. Security NAT policy, if applicable, that also need to be okay. If you have any kind of the security policy, it's also should be okay. Then only it is going to work. If anyone is missing, even routing is missing, you cannot make any communications. So now a simple question, guys. Can you guys tell me, do we have a routing between these 2 VLANs or not? What do you guys think? Do you have a routing or not?
No, it's not needed.
Okay, why?
By both are the internal subnets of same firewall. So it's required only, I think it's only required a policy.
But there is a logic, na? If same subnet, no, there must be some routing informations.
No,
Definitely it's not
We
required,
can
but I want to
give
understand.
default route, we can give.
No, they fall under the connected subnet. If you go in the firewall and try to check it, they fall under the connected subnet. go and check the dashboard and network. Check here. So the connected routes are there. See, connected. There is multiple type of routes. You're going to get the first type is a connected route, right? Then you're going to get the static route, the RIP routes, OSPF routes, BGP routes, like that. So connected route is going to be there. If the connected route is not there, routing is not going to be there. So routing is available because we have the connected route. You can see here. And for the internet, they have the default route. So we'll talk internet later. Right now, we're not talking the internet, so just ignore it. But for VLAN 10 to 20, we are having a routing that is via the connected route. So routing is fine. Now, do we require the NAT policy? The second is the NAT policy. Do we require the NAT policy? The answer is no, because there is an internal subnet, so we not require the NAT. NAT is generally required when you go to the internet. So in that case, we not require the NAT. Now the third questions, do we have the security policy? So if you go in the security policy, you will check that we have the security policy, but that is an implicit deny security policy. Means it is denying all the communications. So if it is denying all the communications, that means you cannot make any communication. See, there is some packet drop also. That much byte. So by default in FortiGate Firewall and Checkpoint Firewall, even in the Palo Alto basically there are the zone-based concept. So by default, if the same zone traffic, they are going to be allowed, different zone going to be denied. But in the Checkpoint, Cisco, and the FortiGate, by default, all traffic are going to be denied by default. If you want to allow, you must have to explicitly configure the policy. So if the VLAN 10 want to talk to VLAN 20, you require the one policy, VLAN 10 to VLAN 20. If VLAN 20 want to talk to VLAN 10, you require the another policy. So let me create the policy. I will go here and create the policy VLAN 10 to VLAN 20 policy. Incoming interface is going to be your VLAN 10. Outgoing interface is VLAN 20. That's all. Now source subnet, I will discuss this object later on, how to get the object, but let me create some object, 10 and 20 objects. I will explain what is the how object is going to be created. But let me create the subnet object here. Just for the matching, I want to VLAN 10. I will configure one more object. Sorry. Source is going to VLAN 10. Destination is going to be VLAN 20. I will explain these all things, but let me first show you. Services, I'm allowing all services. You leave the action except. I will explain what is the action, what is inspection mode later on when I explain the policy. NAT is not enabled, disable the NAT. All session all. Now click OK. Once you click on the OK, you will see that we have the one directional communication, VLAN 10 to VLAN 20. Okay. Now I need to create the reverse directional reverse direction policy. So you can see there is the options clone reverse. If you want to get the reverse policy, you can just clone reverse. So it is going to create the new policy. See, VLAN 10 to 20. You can just give the name here. Give the name VLAN 20 to VLAN 10 policy. Just clone reverse. You can create the manually, or you can just reverse the policy, existing policy, it is going to reverse. But make sure in the last, when you're cloning the policy, you must be enabled by default. It's going to be disabled by default. Whenever cloning any policy, by default, it's a disable. So you must be enabled. But if you're creating any very first policy, by default, it's going to be enabled. Now we create this policy And if I go here and try to ping now, see, I'm able to ping. And if I go here and try to ping 20, also I'm able to ping. So now I have the inter-VLAN routing. Means VLAN 10 is going to talk VLAN 20 via the firewall. 20 is talking VLAN 10 via the firewall. And you can see the logs on the firewalls. See this, these policies are going to get some traffic. So these are getting some traffic. Now, if you go in the logs, forwarding traffic, after some time, you will see some traffic also going to be generated. It will take few seconds, but you go in the dashboard, and you go in the sessions, you'll find some session is created. See, 10-20 session is created, and they're exchanging some traffic bandwidth and everything. So a FortiGate firewall is making the communication between these two devices. And if I go in logs now, let me see, still logs not available. It will take some time, but see here, logs are now available. 20 is talking to 10. After some time, also are going to get 10 to 20 communications. So is it clear? Inter-VLAN routing, guys. It makes sense, everyone. Come on. Inter-VLAN routing. Is it good, guys? Okay. Now we have to understand if I want to enable the DHCP feature on the FortiGate firewall on these two VLAN, I want to assign the IP address manual from the not static from DHCP server. These two PC. How I can configure DHCP server services. So if I go on this particular two PCs and I make the IP DHCP. Means right now you can see the IP is assigned via the show IP is the static. Show IP static. Right? IP is assigned by the static. Let me see what is the font size for this one. Show this. Let me make it in. So in both cases, we have the static IP assignment. But if I make IP DHCP, see the DHCP IP, it will keep trying, but it will never going to receive the IP address. It will never going to receive the IP address because DHCP server is not available in the right network. So it keeps sending a discovery message and saying that can't find DHCP server. So I'm not able to make the any assignment. Let me try one more time. So it's doing the DORA process. What is DORA process? DORA process basically they send whenever the client want to receive IP from DHCP server, they do the DORA process. What is DORA? DORA D is equal to discovery. O is equal to offer, right? R is equal to request. A is equal to acknowledgement. So this is the DORA process. So right now it's saying that D. Why D? Discovery, but nobody is offering. So only DORA process is possible. Let's suppose I have one of the client. This is my client. And this is my DHCP server. So what is going to happen? Only DORA is possible. The client is going to send a discovery packet, right? This is a discovery packet. Let me put it, this is my client. And this is my DHCP server. So the client is going to send a discovery. Based on the discovery, they are going to send the offer, right? Yes, I have the DHCP server. You can just take IP. Based on the offer, this is going to request. Yes, I want to take IP address. Request. Then it is going to acknowledge. Okay, that's fine. You can just enjoy with the IP address. This is a DORA, then you're going to get the IP address. So there is two methods of IP assignment. One is the static. Let's suppose a static IP assignment. you have to manually assign all client IP address. Let's suppose your company have the thousands users, so always you have to go and assign IP address manually. That's very difficult, challenging situations you can do always. But if I want to do via the DHCP, DORA process, in that situations, client will just turn on their machine and it will get automatic IP address. So you don't have to worry about how to assign the IP address. And based on that, they will just, get the IP address and start doing the communication. So how I can make this FortiGate firewall a DHCP server? This time I'm going to use my FortiGate firewall as a DHCP server. FortiGate firewall as a DHCP server. So this is what I'm going to configure. I hope lab objective is clear. So to enable the FortiGate firewall DHCP server, you just have to go on the interfaces. We have two subnet 10 and 20. So you just go VLAN 10 and here is a DHCP server feature enable. In this, you just have to enable and see by default, your interface IP is .1. So it will never going to assign this IP address to any other client. So they will exclude the address. If you want to exclude the address, let's suppose I want to exclude first 30 address. So the IP of the client is going to get after 31 to 254. So that is the range of the IP address. What is the net mask? The net mask, they will get this net mask. If you want to change, you can change that also. What is the default gateway? Same as a router ID, means this is the same IP gateway is going to be always your router IP. If you want to specify any other gateway, you can do that. DNS server, same as your interface DNS. So just leave it default. Don't do any changes. Done. Now go for the another interface. VLAN 20. I will enable DHCP server. Let me make as a this time 50. And I will leave the same default one. We have the advanced feature also, means if you have any NTP server and all, I don't have any NTP server, I can just click OK. Now I enable the DHCP server on the both interfaces. You can see this is the DHCP range has been configured now. Now if I go on this particular PCs and try to run the DHCP, this will follow the DORA process. You will see that. See, DORA is completed now. Earlier it was not, and see, you get the automatic IP address. Earlier it was saying I can't find IP address, but now you can see the DORA has been completed, get the IP address. Now let me go in this PC also. Can't find DHCP server, but now let me run again. It's DORA is completed and you get the IP address. So you can just check the show IP. Now this PC have the 50 IP address, this PC have the 30 IP address. So let me ping from here. 10.10.10.30. It's pingable. If I go from here and try to ping 20, 20, 20, 50, it is also pingable. So I hope you guys clear about that. VLANs, inter-VLAN routing and DHCP server. Okay, let me stop this and move to the next. Now, explain about the aggregate interface. What is the aggregate interface and why we need this aggregate interface? So we have, this is the client, and let me configure the IP address of this client 30.30.30.30/24 and I'll configure the gateway 30.30. Gateway is going to be one of the interface I will configure on my see. So this is my 30.30 IP address. This is my gateway. So if I ping this IP address, it is not going to ping over. Okay, that's fine. Now, guys, very first thing, if you want to configure the redundant, what is a redundant interface? First, let's understand. Redundant, sorry, not redundant, aggregate interface. What is aggregate interface? Let's suppose if you have the multiple interfaces, especially in the switching, and in the switching, what happened? By default, STP is going to run. So to avoid the loop avoidance process, they will, just run the aggregated concept like LSCP, PHGP, because if they are not going to run, only let's suppose there's two interfaces. Let me draw something different, not this one, because I am talking about the switch. Let's suppose this is a true switch, okay? This is another switch. This is one link. This link capacity is 100 Mbps. Just take an example. So you can always maximum do the data transfer from this PC to this PC as a 100 Mbps. Let's suppose you connect one more link. It's also 100 Mbps. Can we do 200 Mbps data transfer? The answer is no. You cannot do that. Even you can add one more link, 100, you cannot do that. Because by default, STP is going to block all port except one port is going to forwarding still. This is the normal process of the loop avoidance in the layer 2 network. So to make this process bypass, we use the link aggregation by using the two protocol, LACP, that is the open standard, PAGP, that is a Cisco proprietary. And by using that protocols, we can aggregate this link and logically we bundle these two links in the one link. So they are going to just only use the single STP instance. So we can use the two link as a 200 Mbps just by doing the aggregation. So now the PC is going to be transfer the traffic between these two as a 200 Mbps. There is no problem. So same process we can do in the FortiGate firewall also. In this FortiGate firewall, I want to do the aggregation. So by default, there's two interface individually is going to work, but I want to make as a one interface. So I will go on the switch. First, let me create the VLANs on the switch. So I'll create the VLAN 30. VLAN 30. And I will configure these three interface in the VLAN 30, 0, 1, and 3. So I will go here, interface, range gig 0 by 0 to 1, comma, gig 0 by 3. Because these three interface I want to put in the VLAN 30. Switch port mode access, switch port access, VLAN 30, no shit. That's all. This is the very first thing I have to do the configuration. Now these two ports I want to make as a bundle. I want to aggregate these two ports. I want to make as a bundle. So how I can do that bundling of this port? I can use the either of the protocol. One is the LACP or PAGP. But PAGP is going to work within the Cisco devices only. Cisco proprietary. You cannot run between the FortiGate, this PAGP. So this can be not used. So only we left with the LACP. LACP is supported by the Cisco and non-Cisco devices both. So we can use the LACP. So how I can do that? I will go on the switch and I will go on the interface. Sorry, interface is basically these two 0 by 0 and 1. So I can use the interface range gig 0 by 0 to 1. And I will use the channel group. Okay, this command, and you have to give the group number like let's say 12. And now I will use the mode, which mode I want to use. See, so for LACP, you have the two mode, active and passive. What is active? What is a passive? So let's suppose if you have two devices, this is the one device, this is the another device. They have connected two cables and you're making the bundle. So if you're making one side as active, another side also active, they will negotiate for the LACP. Means LACP is going to work. There is no problem, right? If you configure one side as active and one side also passive, so that is also they are going to negotiate the LACP. But if you configure both side passive, they will not negotiate the LACP. Okay. So when you select the active, make sure both side either active, means it is also try to communicate this one. And it will also try to communicate via this one. If you're trying to make active passive, this will try to communicate this one. This will never try to communicate this one. But once he will try to communicate this one, he will try to respond. He will say, okay, no problem. Means there is two kind of the speaker. Both are going to talk and both are going to respond. Another type of speaker, one is speaking, one is just responding. And another type of speaker, both are not able to speak That is a passive. So no one is going to speak, so no one is going to respond as well. So passive, no LSCP is going to form. So best use the active. So I'll use the active. That is a LSCP. That's all. Now if you check the configuration, show channel group. Sorry. Show ether channel summary. See, this channel group has been created. There is 2 port. Both port are in the S stage. It means suspended. S is equal to capital S is equal to basically they are in the layer 2 ether channel, and this is a D is equal to is a down. So right now my channel group are down because there is no any kind of the like channel group configured from the far end. So now I need to go on my FortiGate firewall. I need to configure the channel group. So I will go here, active, and this is my port 2 and port 3. So I will go here, configure interface, and here is going to be my aggregate interface. I'll put as the aggregate interface. Okay, let's put enter, and the member are going to be 2 and 3. So I'll select the 2 and 3. IP I will give as a 30.30.31/24. I can enable the services, and I'll click OK. The moment I will click OK, you'll see the negotiation has been completed. And you can see now my ether channel has been come up. See, my ether channel has been come up. S is equal to layer 2, U is equal to in use. And this is the provision. P is equal to, earlier it was suspended. This S is suspended and it was down, but now my ether channel has been come up. So it's clear indication my switch has been make the ether channel, means the aggregated configuration with the FortiGate firewall. And from this PC, if I try to ping my gateway, it should be reachable. Now, if I want to make the communication from this PC to this PC, is it going to work or not? Can you guess, anyone? If I try to make the communication of 10.10.10, is it going to ping or not?
Not.
What reason behind?
There is no security policy actually configured.
So if you are trying to reach now from this interface to this, it is not going to ping. Even 20 is not going to ping because there is no security policy. So if I want to make the communication, we have to give the security policy. So let me go here. And to VLAN 10 policy. What is my aggregated interface? This is going to be aggregated interface. I need to give the VLAN 10. I'll give all for time being. Destination, I have the VLAN 10, no problem. Here I can create the, let me create the VLAN third. Sorry. Subnet. 0/24. I'll make that services all, NAT not needed, all session, click OK. So now VLAN 10 should be reachable. Okay, so the IP is not 10.10.10 for this PC. The IP is 30. Sorry, I'm pinging the wrong IP address. So we change by DHCP, so we have to ping the 30 IP address. So let me try to ping 10.10.10.30. And you see some reachable. And what is this PC IP address? This is going to be 50, 2020-2050. So 2020-50 is not reachable because we not have the policy. So I need to create one more policy. So let me go and copy this policy. I can copy this policy and I can paste just below. So one more policy I just created, but this time it's going to be within 20 and destination is going to be VLAN 20. I remove this. So aggregate to VLAN 20 policy. And make sure you enable the policy when you're creating any clone or copy. And this policy also created. Now if I go and try to ping, this is also reachable. Okay, so we configured the VLAN interface, we configured the aggregate interface, guys. That's all for today from my side. We continue from tomorrow this loopback software switch, but any questions, do let me know. We understand how to deploy the firewall in the very first sections. Day0 deployment, SSS, telnet, administrative interface, configurations. Then we understand the VLANs configurations. Then we understand the aggregate configurations. So 3 topics we covered today, and I hope it's good for today. Are we good? Any questions? Any doubt?
Sir, I have one question. Sir, this Ether channel, port channel, and aggregate interface, all are same?
Ether channel, port channel, aggregate. Yes, all are same.
Okay.
Ether channel, port channel. Port channel basically used for the layer 3, Ether channel for the layer 2. That's only difference, but concept is same. Just bundling for the high speed. All right, so we are good for today, guys. Thank you so much. Let's meet tomorrow on the same.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hi. Sir, I am trying to configure the new lab which I getting from the training platform. And how to add the nodes here. If I add a new node, then how will be?
Why you want to add the new nodes? You just do the same thing now, because if you're adding the new nodes, it's going to reflect to other people also. Okay. If you really want to do the new node additions, I can create one of the blank.
Not this same lab. I want to create one more other additional lab. Is it possible?
Possible, but I need to grant backend access. Okay. Just try to do this first lab, whatever we are doing that. And if you need still, you think like there are a lot of labs, a lot of topology we have. Let me show you. So I believe all scenario is possible in this lab. Whatever we can think about that, everything is possible. See, there are a lot of labs are available. So it's my highly recommendations. Do not play with your own labs, because it's going to unnecessarily make the resource, utilizations, other lab impact. Try to follow the standard labs, but still you need any lab creation. I will create one of the blank page for you. Just let me know after some classes. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Why I am trying to create new lab? If I do something in the configuration part, if this existing lab, that also reflecting all the users, right?
No. It's not going to reflect. Don't think about it. Whatever lab you're going to do that, it's It's not going to reflect to any other user. Topology is going to be same, but it's not going to be visible to any users. The lab are designed in such way, whatever you're doing, that is going to only your port configuration. It's never going to be reflect to any other users.
Okay, it's fine. So I can delete the existing configuration and create a new.
Yes. If you're deleting, let's suppose you're wiping any nodes, right? So only it's going to wipe for you, not for others. If you don't delete the node, if you're deleting the node, then already it is creating a problem.
Okay, understood.
Okay.
Sir, how to access, sir, these lab things and all?
You have to get the lab access till now or not?
No, sir.
Just reach out to support team. They will give the lab access. Then I will explain how to access. All right. Access simple. Once you give the URL, right? Once you get the URL lab, you will just log in the URL like me. Okay. And you just give the username and password, select the HTML console, and just give the captcha. You're going to be land in the lab. Like in my case, admin, password, and you are landing in the lab. You just close from here. You can start doing the labs.
It's going through directly GoDaddy site.
Sorry,
Yes.
where are you going?
GoDaddy.
Where? In this rack you're trying to access?
Yes, sir.
No. Might be something wrong. It's not should be GoDaddy. You'll get the new URL, don't worry, okay? This is not same URL, you're going to get new URL from support team and they will give the lab access.
Okay, sir.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Bye. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.